I am a serial entrepreneur. In the last 3.5 years, I have opened 2 arcade bars, a grilled cheese food truck, a music venue, and a restaurant. I'm currently working on trying to bring back Hoop Fest, a 3-on-3 basketball tournament, to take place this summer in the streets of the Quad Cities. I learned the skills necessary to do all of these things through an unlikely place, fast food. For nearly 8 years, I managed 2 and eventually 5 fast food franchises that focused on sandwich delivery. Now, I could give you the Hollywood pitch that purely through hard work and perseverance, we were able to double sales at those 2 locations in just 5 years, moving from the bottom to the top quarter in store performance nationwide, but I wouldn't be telling you the whole story. Today, I want to talk about something that people don't like to discuss, but it's something that we all think about. It shapes our decision making and keeps us from taking risks. It's something that we whisper about when it happens to someone else. I'm talking about the dreaded F word, failure. But I don't like the word failure because it really has 2 very distinct types. One of which I call permanent failure. And that's when you quit or the opportunity to reach a goal has stopped. Think of a skier in their last Olympics with one last shot to medal who falls seconds short, never getting a chance at it again. What I want to talk about is the other and much more common kind of failure I call micro failures. Micro failures are those missteps we make each and every day that give us an opportunity to pivot or course correct if we have the ability to recognize it and the courage to act on it. Recognizing and reacting to micro failures are the dirty little secret to every success story. Because in order to tell you the story of how I got things right, I need to tell you about all the things that I got wrong. The problem is, I can't. They are only giving me 10 minutes and I would need a lot more time. The truth is that I've made and continue to make a lot of mistakes. I've trusted the wrong people and haven't trusted the right people enough. I've been blinded by ambition and moved too quickly. I've been paralyzed by fear and reacted too slowly. I have failed so many times that I like to think of myself as a professional failure, and I think most entrepreneurs see themselves the same way. My entrepreneurial streak started in college, where I graduated at the very top of my class, and I had competing job offers from some of the best Fortune 500 companies in the world. Okay, that's not exactly accurate. The truth is that I had a 2.9 GPA and had exactly 0 job offers. Yeah. So I did what anyone who wasn't good at college would do. I went to graduate school. I worked at a local university who would pay for me to get my MBA so I could buy myself time to figure my life out. I was only 5 classes away from graduating when I was given an opportunity to get involved with fast food. I had no experience in that field besides flipping burgers at McDonald's when I was 16 years old, so on paper it sounded like a really great idea. Now here's why I decided to get into fast food. When I looked at the short term, it seemed like staying in school was the better play. But the more I thought about the long term, the more I thought that fast food could actually have a higher ceiling. So I was left with 2 choices. I could either stay in school, graduate, get hired at a large employer and work my way up the company ladder, or I could join a fast-growing brand and learn by experience, turning around 2 struggling stores. You see, the stores weren't cash flow positive at the time, so it was the idea of fixing something that was broken that hooked me. So I went to 3 weeks of corporate training, and then I was put in charge. And almost immediately, something amazing happened. I realized I had a knack for it. I was a natural manager. The employees finally had the support they needed, and they embraced me. And sales went up almost right away. Okay. I lied. Sales didn't go up. Nearly everyone hated me, and I got my butt kicked every day. And I mean, I dreaded every day. I have vivid memories of my wife and I trading off throwing up in the one toilet in the house every morning, her from morning sickness from carrying our first child, and me from stress. Yeah. I would actually tap her on the shoulder and say, hey, do you mind if I jump in? On top of that, I was humiliated. I had a former colleague at the university I'd worked at who didn't realize I had left. He saw me working the register, and he came up, and I'll never forget his words. He said, oh, you work here now, huh? Well, I guess something's better than nothing. Yeah. A former student came in, and I said hello to her by name. She acted like she didn't know me. I said, hey, it's me, Dan. And she looked at me with such disgust and said, yeah, I know who you are. The product of that humiliation wasn't shame, it was anger. And that anger became fuel. And that's when I realized that my self-esteem couldn't get any lower, that the 90+ hours I was working every week weren't yielding the results I wanted. And if I failed at this, I literally had nothing to fall back on. I had nothing left to lose. And it was at that point where I just adopted a mindset of rapid trial and error, or as I like to call it, rapid failure. If something didn't work, I would try something different. And if that worked, that would become the new protocol. And if it didn't, I wasn't any worse off. And it worked. It worked better than I could have ever imagined. And that's when I learned my first big lesson about failure. No one is following you around, keeping track of all the times you mess up. It may feel that way, but you are the one putting yourself under a microscope. Most of these things just go unnoticed. And even if they don't go unnoticed, and you fail in a very public setting, people have short memories. We are constantly inundated with information. We just don't have the commitment to remember the details of your shortcomings. We'll always remember Michael Jordan as the greatest basketball player who ever lived, and not as a failed minor league baseball player. Steve Jobs was fired from the company that he created, and yet he's a visionary. And Abraham Lincoln, he lost so many times in life, it hurts to read a list of his failures. And yet, his legacy will always be that of a great success. Another lesson I learned is that failure gives us priceless information. When we have an idea, we can only guess what will and won't work. We live in a theoretical world. But when we decide to execute that idea, the world gives us a dose of cold, hard truth. The world is indifferent to your feelings. It doesn't care how badly you want something to work. It will tell you if it works. And if it tells you it doesn't, you have 3 choices. You can adapt, you can quit, or you can stay the course. And there are examples throughout history of people succeeding through staying the course, but my experience is that these instances are rare. Fast forward to October of 2018. I opened a restaurant with a large outdoor patio and 100 beers on draft. Our idea for the food was ambitious. We wanted to serve elevated barbecue in a casual environment using a scratch kitchen. I hired motivated and talented people to pull it off. And while the bar thrived, the kitchen suffered. I put my team through rapid failure, and we just couldn't get it right. The more I listened to feedback, the clearer it became. People didn't want an elevated barbecue experience there. What they wanted was a place to have a solid burger and fries while they sampled all of the beers that we offered. So after 15 months of being a barbecue restaurant, we ceased operations and opened up a week later as a place to get a fresh, handcrafted burger. And that decision was hard. In fact, I hated every single minute of it. Every single minute of it. But what it did was it taught me that failure is something to do over and over and over again. It's all a part of the process. What failure really is an opportunity to take another swing. And I hope you see it that way as well. Thank you.